All right, this is another episode of the Catalyst Effect, and we are doing the Voice of the Founders series here in association with Lions Den DFW. Lions Den DFW is having their pitch competition coming up on April 29th and 30th, and Catalyst Effect will be there, and would love to have the opportunity to meet you all in person. And for this series, we are interviewing as many of the applicants for the pitch competition as we can. Jen and Luke Richey are here. Jen and Luke are techies. They own a tech firm and husband and wife and work together, and they make it all work. And Luke still has some hair left, and it all seems to work for him.
Bit.
Luke, why don't you tell us a little bit about what you guys are doing?
Oh man, that's it's really exciting. So, like you mentioned, we've been married 24 years. I think this is our fourth tech startup together. We've done a few other things, owned a CrossFit box, had a few successful exits.
Nice.
But most importantly, God came and got us in 2019. And we found it, we were in a company we'd started in 2008 called Gravity Jack. And it was the United States' first augmented reality company, and very early in the space. But when God came and got us, we kind of asked, "What now, Lord?" And I'm like shrinking a whole bunch of miracles and a whole bunch of stuff that occurred. But the reality is, we spent a good year and a half praying, like, you came and got us, what's our direction? And we just happened to be in the gaming industry. In fact, our company before Gravity Jack had been acquired by a gaming company. It was a gaming tech company. And in Gravity Jack, we'd spent, 15 years making games for other companies, Pokemon Go, World of Tanks. I mean, there are titles that we were integral to, and some of them, making 35 million a month, but we'd always done it for other clients. And we really just knew gaming was the space we were supposed to be in. But most importantly, it's because there are 3.88 billion gamers on the planet. It's larger than music, movies, and sports combined. And it's a very dark place. Isolation's up, sextortion's up, depression's up, suicide's up. And every time I update the stats, every time we do a talk, the stats are worse. I usually cry for a couple of days just because they're so much worse. And we really believe when Christians exit a space or don't go into a space, what's going to fill that void? The enemy.
Yeah.
There is a reason gaming is dark and destructive, and it's because it's ignored by the faith community. And we spent a good 2 years on a circuit, speaking at Lausanne, doing a bunch of podcasts, just trying to convince the Christian community that gaming is important. And somewhere along the way, and a lot of learning on our part, minds started to open. I mean, it's a $237 billion market, but we're still talking about, The Chosen, which is, I love The Chosen. But it's like Gen A'ers are not watching The Chosen. Gen Zers aren't watching it. It's like, if we want to reach these kids, we have to go where they're at. Yeah. And they're gaming 2 hours a day. 450 million new generation alpha players came online this year. And they became 2 hour a day players, and they became spenders. That's worldwide. 98% of them game. And then 1% are projected to have a biblical worldview. So that's the worst in history. Like, it's a spiritual extinction event for the church if we don't do something. And they're not walking through the doors of the church yet. And Jen, you should probably add to that, because now I'm just going. Now I'm all fired up.
I just want to say there are a lot of people in the Christian, a lot of believers who understand the value in gaming. So when he says there's no Christians in the space, it's not a knock on the people who've been really trying. And correct me if I'm wrong, Luke, but that comment's more towards like investment, capital being put into the space. There's tons of grassroots, believers creating Christian games or knowing the importance of gaming. But it really is that investment side of impact investors, faith investors that really do shy away from that gaming space.
Yeah, they don't understand it.
Right.
I had the opportunity to do some of the due diligence for Lions Den this time around and assess some of the companies. And every time like a movie or a media company comes up, I'm like, I don't know what to do here. I do tech startups. That's what I do. And I can assess that. I can assess the market. I don't know how to tell an investor that a movie is a good investment or not. That's just so far outside. So the faith-based investor, now you bring something to the table in that you have built these games that are widely used, widely known, high quality, they perform well. I've seen some biblically slanted games that or very Christian games that crash your phone. They don't work on certain versions of the iPhone. Obviously, they have Unity framework issues, and they weren't built right a lot of times because they didn't have the investment to bring the right folks in to work on it from the beginning.
Yeah.
That's kind of the impression that, I don't know if you guys have ever heard of the band Avalon, but Greg and Jana Lawn from the band Avalon are the worship pastors at my church. And Greg Lawn says every week, yeah, I know I'm getting down into the details, but God is a God of details. Look in nature if you don't believe that. But then you look at a lot of the media content and the games and the things that are created from a Christian perspective, and they don't have that detail. They don't have that foundation of excellence that draws people to games like Pokemon Go or heck, even just
that was the word
games. Yeah,
excellence.
Yeah.
I'm glad
so
you
now
said
you're
that,
here.
because that's it's
Yeah,
not
so
fun.
you're
They're
here.
not
You're
going
like,
to play
here's the
it.
market.
If
I
it's
know how
not
to
cool,
create
they're
these
not going to
games.
come. Yeah.
Yeah, engaging and
Well, I should qualify, Haiven is not a Christian platform. Actually,
Right.
It is a secular platform. It's a platform for games all around, secular. I mean, we're going into the dark space. We're going into where the players are, all of them, to be a light.
Yeah, I've written a couple of children's kids books. And if you were to pull the book up at Christian Camp or VBS, you would know immediately who the book is about. But I've also had it translated into Arabic and taken it into Syria and Saudi Arabia, and they look and they see a good story, but they don't understand who the story is about. So that it's engaging, it's encouraging, it's good to them. And to us, we understand that it's about our Father. We know because it's kind of like when you start coding for the first time, you sit down, you're looking at Unity, you're looking at the code. I was a data engineer for 25 years, so you give me some SQL and R and Python, and I get it.
Yeah.
If I show that to my wife, she's just like, I don't speak that language.
Yeah.
If you don't speak that language, you can't understand it. You can't even fathom what it's happening. So when you take something that's excellent and engaging, it has a good storyline, then people will play it. But then when they go into a spiritual gospel encounter, they start realizing, I understand the language now, and it connects to them more. Just because we have the light doesn't mean that we have to beat people in the head with it, right? We can create excellent and engaging situations that bring people in, and then use those engagement there to invite people into a deeper walk.
That's literally our.
Yes,
We call it sheep in wolves' clothing. Like that's what we are. Like we're sheep, but we're going out. We're going to look like a wolf.
Yeah, wise as serpents, harmless as doves, right? Yeah. Awesome. So, do you guys have any specific projects that you're working on that you could tell us about?
So Haiven itself is the project. It's a gaming platform, project/company, gaming platform where game developers come onto the Haiven platform. If you think of it like Steam meets Discord meets Twitch.
Okay.
And so the game developers on the platform, gamers obviously come with them. There's going to be chat communication, which is critical. Our focus out of the gate is really think of like Netflix model with the indie game developers, where we're not going after the AAA, like Netflix didn't initially, and look at where they have gotten to at this point. A lot of game developers don't include chat because there's toxicity, there's predators in chat, there's all kinds of security breaches.
And get quite dangerous, yeah.
Yeah, dangerous. And so we're taking on that danger for them, where we're going to provide that API for game developers to have the chat within their game, and then also on the platform themselves, so they can cultivate their community on Haiven. But we're really after a culture shift holistically, where again, you go into a Discord channel, you go into where chat's happening now, it's brutal. They're nasty. I mean, they're not even just mean. It's past that. So we're leveraging a lot of different AI elements within Haiven to use sentiment AI when that's flagged. And gamers actually have a vibe score. So when you're not a jerk on the platform, your vibe score goes up. When you're nasty, I mean, you can be nasty, not nasty like inappropriate nasty, but rude. And your vibe score goes down. And so people can actually see that. And so that's a culture shift there. And then we're also working with phenomenal partners when predators, groomers, traffickers, etc. are flagged in the system because they will try to get in. They try to get in everywhere. We flag them, get that data to our partners, and get them out of Haiven. And then on the flip side, if there's moments where the AI sentiment analysis recognizes there's players in need, depression, anxiety, their parents are going through a divorce, they're struggling with something, that gets flagged so that someone can come alongside and actually speak life into these players, rather than, again, the toxicity that gets thrown at a lot of them nowadays.
Yeah. And I'll just add too, we're at a unique point in history. This is just nerd to nerd here, that where AI's changed everything. And so that our team gets to build without any technical debt. And we actually get instead of bolting on AI to Discord or bolting on AI to Steam, we're literally like, what would a platform look like if AI was at the core of what we were doing? And when you actually start asking that questions, we are doing some amazing things that if we weren't even solving all the problems we're solving for developers and players and community managers and all those other things, just from an amazing standpoint alone, we'll see migration to our platform. The reach right now is, and this is Godborn, I don't take any credit for it, but we have so far 210 million players ready to load into the ecosystem right now, just from partners, because we don't get no's from developers. They see what we're doing. We just had our first pre-alpha release, did our developer vertical slice, and I've never been a part of vertical slice, meaning like you're actually asking for criticism. They wouldn't give any. They had some ideas, but they were so mind blown. And one thing on the model, we actually pay the developers. So we solved this huge problem of distribution, of getting eyeballs on their game, because there's amazing games out there that are excellent, but they can't afford the $52 it costs to get a paying player because they're competing against AAA. So that cross-pollination of users is a huge draw. And we actually charge the player, and they pay for a subscription fee. And it's not access to the game, but each developer provides in-game loot for subscribers. So we can protect kids that aren't subscribing, and we protect subscribers, of course. But our business model is based around this idea that make the customer a customer again and not a data source where we sell their data. And that's pretty much what it is nowadays.
And so you're creating a marketplace where the customer is coming in, they're subscribing, they're accessing maybe several different titles, several different games, not just paying for one, get bored of it, and then you have to pay for the next one.
Correct. Thousands, actually, yeah. And they can claim rewards in all of those. So it's like, why wouldn't I pay $14.95? And the developers love it. They're like, you're going to cross-pollinate? Yeah, send my users there if they love that game, but also bring users to me. And so it's a very unique model. It actually came about through a lot of prayer, actually, too. Like, how do we do this in a really holy way?
So I've had to stop playing games. I was working more in more secular startup communities and just working with great people at these other events, but the alcohol is flowing and the darkness is there. And so as a part of my journey back to a closer walk with God and sobriety, I've exited those environments completely, and which has also meant I've had to give up the games because of all of the ads that are playing are not conducive to my walk and to my journey right now. So I go in and there's ads for all sorts of other games and then all sorts of other things that I don't need to be seeing. My 4-year-old doesn't need to be seen. My 17-year-old doesn't need to be involved in. So having an environment with obviously an access where I could pay one place, access all of these other games. I don't mind paying for the games, but the loot you have to watch extra videos for, and there's no way to come in and say, I don't want AI companion ads, for example. All of these AI virtual companions, I'll be your AI girlfriend. I'm like, I don't want to see this stuff. Knowing that the environment will be safe there. And also that my 17-year-old daughter could participate in the games and the guilds and the other things, knowing that she's going to be safe in that environment. You're right. This is timely. This needs to happen. And my high school kids don't need to become potential victims and be exposed to these things just to have entertainment. And telling them, I don't know if you've ever tried to tell a 17-year-old girl that she can't play games at all. That's not a conversation that goes over very well today. So I'd love to see that you're building a community for them.
Well, and very specifically too, the games that we are pulling in, they're obviously in that excellent category, which we're doing curation. So it's not just any game, but additionally, they sign a player pact, and that player pact is you can't be predatory on dopamine, you can't be predatory on finances, and you can't be sexual in nature. So there will be games that some Christians won't like on the platform, and obviously nothing demonic. But the reality is we have to actually go be where they're at in order to present these opportunities. And 80% of Generation Alpha feel isolated. That's like, if you just look around a room of Gen Alphas, just take out, a few kids that don't feel isolated. They're the anomaly. So something's just not happening correctly. The partnerships that we have, I know we briefly touched on it, but by them being faith-based organizations, even though they're not beating Jesus over the head, they're just coming alongside that child in the varying degrees of crisis, all the way up to potentially even, I want to take my life. They're trained for it, but they're also coming from a place of truth. I've worked the hotlines for the secular area, and it's not a place of truth that you operate from. Now, I did as a counselor, but as a holistic organization, they're not. And I think the same words coming from a believer that has the Holy Spirit and the same words coming from somebody that doesn't, there is a fully different response and reaction. So that was key for us. We're not evangelizing yet until they ask, but those people are speaking from truth. Like, they can say, you have an eternal destiny. Did you know that you're loved with a well of love that's eternal? Like, you can't even measure the love that there is for you. Just started speaking life back into these kids, what's going to happen? They're just, man, and their grip on it. This is so cool. You watch digital discipleship stuff happening now, which is like growing, and they'll just latch on. They're just so quick. They're so hungry for truth. They're so surrounded by darkness. So it's just awesome. I mean, it's a God thing, honestly.
This is something you'll hear me say a lot. If you can bring hope to a child, you've saved the entire world. And I love seeing that. So obviously the spiritual impact is there. One last question for you, for both of you. You have run companies, successful companies that are secular in nature, I'm sure, not run by a Christian worldview. And now you're building this company specifically to build the kingdom. What are some differences that you're seeing in the path here?
Well, one, the warfare. I'll let Jen go too. There is intense warfare. We're going after entrenched enemy territory on the trafficking side, that component, on the suicide component, all of that. The enemy hates what we're doing. And then gaming is entrenched financially. But also, I mean, the minute we were saved, we were all in. So we had born again experiences, wild stuff. And so our team knew, even though we were in this secular company. Our investors knew, our board knew. But there is a difference now, because this spin-off we've done from our primary company, Gravity Jack, it's cool. We have a chief prayer officer, we have a chaplain. When we're hiring, we're telling people, hey, you're going to hear about Jesus probably every hour. So that's going to bother you. You're not going to want to work here. And it's just interesting who God's brought alongside too. And then you see them start to grow. So there's just a lot. I just love being able to talk about Jesus, because this is the mission. We're on a mission, and it's going to be wildly profitable. That's just kind of the nature of gaming. If you even do it kind of right.
Yeah, absolutely. And even with subpar games, if you've got the right platform, if you've got easy accessibility, it's going to be wildly profitable.
Yeah, but it's wildly profitable here, like eternally. That's what we're going for, and they get it, man. Our team gets it. Jen, you have stuff too, I'm sure.
It's just the big difference is also our partners. So with Haiven, God told us in the very beginning, lead where you're supposed to lead and follow where you're supposed to follow. So we knew then, and we know now, and we are absolutely confident going forward. Our partnerships matter, because we're going to have the data that's coming into Haiven is so vast, so valuable as well, not just monetarily, but in the heartbeat of what it does. And it's taking that data, working with our partners that are experts in their own space, their own God-given talents, so that they can we're not trying to own every aspect of what Haiven is going to be touching. We're not supposed to.
Right.
We are supposed to work with the right groups, the right partners, and the right people. This is a global platform, and it's bigger than we are. It's bigger than our team is. We know that. And so working together truly for a greater mission is such a beautiful thing outside of our previous secular tech companies. And then to this point, I mean, getting to kick our Mondays off in prayer as a team for those who want to join, not everybody, for whoever, and ending the week with worship and You get off a meeting and I'm instantly hitting our prayer Slack channel. Hey, add this to the prayer list, da 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 da. And it's just like, you're not alone in something. Not that, I mean, I've always got, my husband and my family, but there's something more and deeper when we've got more parts of the body working together in prayer and protection and covering and in heart for what Haiven is.
I'll add one last thing, Isaac. Sorry, I know we're getting close on time.
You're good.
We have this thing that's happened organically. I didn't recognize it until about the third interview. And it was, people will come back and they'll say, so we'll do an interview, we'll ship them the code test, whatever it is. And then they'll reach back out. They'll be like, I've been up all night thinking about this. I can't stop thinking about what you're doing. I can't. And they'll literally say, I have to be a part, even if you don't pay me. Like, I've actually had, like, almost our entire team has even added that last part, even if you don't pay me. Because they're like, it's just, they can't stop. And that's how I know, okay, you're called to what we're doing. And it's been really fascinating to watch. And even kind of waiting, because you can tell sometimes you're like, oh, that person's going to get hit with this tonight. Like, the weight of it, the gravity of it, and the potential of it. Because as dark as it is the biggest opportunity that is waiting for the church to take advantage of is gaming, and specifically where they're at, which is in chat systems.
Yeah. Awesome. All right. Well, man, this has been exciting. I'd love to have a follow-up with you all. The data science brain on me would love to dive in a little bit more.
Yeah, for sure.
Talk about ethical remonetization of data and all that stuff.
Yeah.
I think that would be interesting later. But man, this has been such a great conversation. Thanks so much for coming on. This is the Voice of the Founders. This is the reason why we do this show. And so exciting to work with Lions Den, DFW to facilitate and support faith-based founders that are out just making a difference. So thanks, Luke and Jen. How, if somebody, one of our viewers wants to reach you, how can they find you?
Haiven.gg, Haiven.gg. If you're wanting to get added to our updates newsletter, or shoot us an email, Jen@Haiven.gg or Luke@Haiven.gg.
Awesome. Thanks so much.
Thanks, Isaac. We'll see you in Dallas.